Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mental Arts with John Worthington. I'm Terri Stangl here from Connecticut, and John's down at Artes Mentales in Mexico. Hi, John.
Hi there. How you doing? Good.
I'm doing good. So
Right.
for today, I was thinking about something I've heard you say many times, and you talk about how you have a good relationship with the other part of your thinking or the other part of the thought process, and if I hear that out of context, I would have no idea what you're talking about. And it's an intriguing statement, but maybe you can put a few more words on it.
Well, it's an intriguing statement, I suppose. That's true. Look, if you're alive, you're physical and you're spiritual, okay? And for someone to say, "Oh my goodness, I can't talk about the spirit because it's just I don't believe in that shit, and besides, I might go to hell if I do." Well, that's poppycock. Because to begin with, I mean, if you're going to go to hell, it ain't going to be because of that. you buy hell in lots of other ways. You marry it mostly, okay?
Well, no comment.
Well, sometimes it comes in form of a wife or a mother-in-law or a father-in-law. You don't know. You marry into it, okay? So it's okay. But you have the license, so it's legal, okay? So don't worry. You're not going to get in trouble with this. But here's the thing. Why not take advantage of what the spirit does rather than to say, well, I don't believe in that stuff and I'm just cut off my nose to spite my face because I can. I know people who've done that for years and years that are well educated and so forth.
Yeah, I've known a few too.
Well, it's kind of it's sort of a common affliction. And here's the thing: if you're going to talk about it like a lot of the New Age guys do and so forth, saying, "Oh, I'm going to, I'm in touch with my spirit, and I'm going to Satori 47, and I'm going to take a flight from there to Mars or somewhere. I don't know. We'll have to see, however it falls." That's kind of horse-dookie because the spirit is living in this world right here with us. Okay, that's where we're dealing with things here, not off in Satori 47 or taking a Mars even. No, we're not there. We're here, really, in this now. We're here, right here now. And the spirit has to be practical and useful and so forth here and now. So when I say that I have a good relationship with the spirit, it's like, okay, can I deal with that as true too? Is it legal to deal with the spirit as also being true and spiritual thoughts and realities being true right alongside of physical realities and thoughts and so forth? I mean, can both things be treated as true at the same time? I mean, I don't think one necessarily cancels out the other. I think that in order for one to exist, the other has to exist. They have to exist at the same time in the same place and in more or less the same body. That's the deal.
Okay, all right.
Why not have a good relationship with that? Okay, I'm sorry.
Fair enough. Okay. Well, again, I hear what you're saying here, and there are a lot of people.
You're going to argue with it. You're going to argue with it. Come on, let's go.
You're right. So here I go. Okay, I hear the words.
I'm ready.
And I have to ask you about the words.
I'm not so sure about that even. I think you're interpreting the words, but okay, let's say that you hear the words. All right, I'll give you this one. So for the moment.
All right. Zoom. Okay. Many people say things like, "Oh, me and the spirit, we're on good terms. Me and my spirit, it's like me and my shadow." But when I've talked to you, it's like, "Oh, this means something different than the people who say the spirit told me or whatever else." And what gave me some problem when we first started, one of the many things that gave me a problem is when you say, "Well, this is not a conscious thing," and so And when I heard, okay, there's this other part, and you said, okay, there's this entity, there's this part of you, and it's not conscious. What's the first thing that the Terri wants to do is like, how can I control this? You know, it's out there. Yeah, it's like the force. Yeah. It's out there. How do I get it under control? And therefore, you're exactly right. I never heard a damn thing said because you weren't talking about something I could control.
No, I'm not. But it's a good fish hook.
Well, yeah, I did. It did. Well, yeah. And okay. Here I am 10 years later still asking questions. So yeah.
Well, but if it weren't the same question, it'd be great. Okay, here comes. And it's a good question, and it really is one that deserves careful consideration. It does. But so let's see if we can do a little bit of that. Look, life is what we're living. Okay, we're not living some imaginary thing in some other time space continuum. We're right here in this time and this space at this here and now. I keep saying this on these places, but I've never lived another moment other than now. I tried to live in the past, and I was still in the now. I tried to live in the future. I was still in the freaking now. I couldn't escape it. Everywhere I went, I was in now. And so I finally just threw up my hands in total disgust and bewilderment and said, well, I guess I'm in now. So there. Yeah. Well, if that's true, okay, if it's true that I'm in this now, then whatever is taking place for me, whatever spiritual, physical, mental thing is taking place now. Mm-hmm. Not at another time. It's now. So.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Lily talks about it in terms of being able to access any kind of spiritual level. He talks about it in terms of satori and so things like that. But then you got to also remember that Lily consumed drugs by the handful. I mean that vitamin K stuff he was talking about that he was taking when he had his accident going down Mulholland Drive. Well, that vitamin K actually turned out to be 40 milligrams of PCP, and 4 milligrams is plenty.
Yeah.
And so, he was high as a kite, and it's a wonder he didn't die, because if he didn't, the only reason he didn't is because the old lady saved him. But that kind of stuff did affect him. Okay, it affected how he thought about things. Now, the thinking was fairly clear, but his description of it could have been clouded by the chemical. Now, I'm not saying that it was. I'm not saying that it wasn't. I'm just saying, okay, start and think about that and say, okay, what if what he's talking about is another way of talking about right now? Because that's when he experienced it was in the right now. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. What that indicates is that even though he was in a tank, and even though he was high on God knows what, he was experiencing whatever he was experiencing in this right now. So therefore, that experience is available to anybody in this right now. So, what kinds of experiences do we know about it that are spiritual? What do we know? What do we call spiritual events? What do we call spiritual events that we know about right now? Well, back in the day, if you went to a tent revival, the spiritual knowledge that we knew about right now was when the Spirit of the Lord got them up, moved them down to the front of the right there in front of where the preacher was, and they got down on their knees and they said, "Jesus, forgive me." That was a spiritual event. It didn't last very long, and it was only in that very moment that thing took place. After that, there was something else going on. Okay, tomorrow they would curse and swear and jump up and down the same as they always had. Maybe with a little bit of more humility, but not much. It's just pretty much the same stuff. They're still mad at the same people for the same reasons and all that kind of thing. So you got to look at that and say, well, if that's spiritual, it's not all that spiritual. So you look at, okay, maybe you need to have a more intense spiritual event. like maybe those guys that do the Pentecostal thing, and they get down there and the Spirit of the Lord gets hold of them, and they get to dancing around, and they get to dancing, and they get to, that could be the Spirit. But I see a lot of black folks doing that stuff when they're singing gospel music too. It's the same thing, pretty much, and maybe that's the Spirit too. I'm not arguing about it. I wish the fuck I could sing like some of those black choirs do. I swear to God, I wish I could sing that good. I mean, those folks get it on. I mean, they're hearing rough riffs and runs and notes that I can't hear. I'm a white guy. I'm an old white guy on top of that. So I can appreciate them when I hear them, but to get there myself, no, I can't play the blues that way. Mm-hmm. So anyway, maybe that's a spiritual event. And then you got to think about, well, okay, there's these voodoo guys, and they kind of get into the spiritual event where they kind of get all possessed and everything. But the Catholics, they say that's spirit possession. So do the voodoo guys. But the Catholics say that that's wrong. You have to if you do it over in the Catholic Church, it's okay. But if you do it out there around a campfire, well, then you're wrong. Okay, well, all right. But they're both talking about a spiritual event, all right? So is that it? That's not very practical, because run around naked and dancing and having the Spirit take care of you, it ain't going to bale no hay, and it won't milk no cows. If you try to milk the cows doing that kind of stuff, the cows are going to kick your butt. They're going to kick you. They're going to kick you. They are. Cows are pretty smart. Cows say, I'm not putting up with that. They'll just kick. Yeah, and if they mean business, they got hard hooves and they can kick hard. So anyway, that doesn't work so well. See, that doesn't work anywhere of being right here, right now. So then you think about, okay, maybe it's more like being able to be a magical thing. Maybe you can move rocks around and so forth. Well, I've moved a bunch of rocks around in my life.
But you used forklifts and things.
Well, no, I used leverage is what I actually used, because that's how you move a rock. It weighs more than I do, and so if I'm going to move it, I got to know where to put pressure on it so it moves. That's all. Okay. It's the same thing of moving anything, really. You get the leverage right, you can move it. Well, that doesn't seem to be too spiritual either. Okay, that seems to be really a lot more physical than spiritual. And so then I get to places like Einstein, where he's saying, for me to understand these things, what happens is that I kind of dream a little bit, I kind of sleep a little bit, I kind of walk around a little bit, I kind of play some badminton or some ping pong or something like that, and voila, this idea comes to me all out in this form and so forth. And I look at that and I said, well, he didn't go anywhere, he didn't do anything. That seemed to have been a physical event. And so therefore we got to get to the place where Lily talks about the self metaprogrammer, that it dreams and it writes programs and metaprograms as the case may be. And so I said, okay, that's still physical. But everybody's talking about the spiritual thing. So I got to thinking about that one day, and I said, okay, well, if the Spirit's around, what the hell does it do? If it's there, where's the tracks? What kind of tracks does it leave? What is the Spirit doing here for us all the damn time? And there's nothing right or wrong about it. It's just, what is that? There's nothing religious about it. It's just straight up, okay, we have a spirit, and it's supposed to be doing something. What's it doing? It ain't talking to me, because that's me talking to myself, okay? So the Spirit ain't telling me nothing. Spirit ain't going, hey, John, that's a good-looking chick. You ought to go over there and see if you can pinch your butt. That's me. That's a self-metaprogrammer. So isn't that a fine one there? Oh my goodness! See, that's all that's inside of me, right? No, that's not spiritual anywhere. That's all physical, and ain't that fun? So the problem I ended up with was saying, okay, what the hell does the Spirit do? I mean, really, what does it do? And so I started looking around in all kinds of funny places. Okay, I started looking and say, okay, where are these tracks? I mean, they got to be around somewhere. What's the common thing about these tracks? And one of the things I started noticing was that you could interchange the word programming with a whole lot of the New Testament scripture. You could just set that word in there. If you took away the sin thing and you would just put kinds of programming in there, if you put in good behavior, if you put the programming in there, it means the same thing. And so, it doesn't mean that that's what they meant, but you know what? It means the same thing. And so when I read it from that perspective, I say, okay, what shall we say then? Shall we continue with the same stupid programming that how shall we that are dead to that programming continue there doing that thing?
Okay.
Well, that sounds like programming being something that the Spirit's interested in. And I got to thinking about that. I said, okay, well, wonder why Paul's talking about that as a spiritual admonition. What does that have to do with what he's trying to say? And I got to thinking about it. He said, okay, look, if you're saved and you belong to Jesus, then you ought to act like you're saved and you belong to Jesus. You ought to be that one thing. You ought not be saved and belong to Jesus except on Thursdays when you go over to the pan celebration because that guy's got a nice dick. That's different. You can't do that. You got one thing. You can't be two things. Just one. Even the Old Testament says you shall have one God. That's it. One. It's down to one. Okay, just one thing. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. That's a good idea. So I got thinking about that. I said, okay, what they're talking about is they're saying, okay, the programming has to line up with one thing. And I got to think, okay, well, why is that? Why would it be important in a society or in a civilization for us to be one thing? What's the purpose? What would come about if we were one thing? Mm-hmm. Well, it would be lots easier to stay in a relationship, wouldn't it? Because if somebody's one thing in the morning and another thing afternoon and a third thing at night, you might get whiplash. It's not good for society. It's not even good for a relationship. In fact, what it pretty much defines why relationships don't work. Okay, because who knows which part of that entity you're going to get. Okay, who's showing up for the party. Well, that getting along thing's called harmony. I got looking at that and said, okay, well, what the hell do you have to do to be in harmony with somebody? And I got looking at that scripture stuff again, and it's what it was talking about. Is it said, look, here's the thing: for God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son. And it's like whoever believes in Him is going to have everlasting life. Okay, what? No, people believe in Him all the time, and they don't live forever. Mm-hmm. But something they do is that they get along with somebody. They actually be able to get a harmony together. They can harmonize with that person, and they make a song together, kind of. And I got to think about that. I said, okay, so if I change how I look at the world, then I can probably be able to get along with somebody if I could see how they see the world. If I could figure out how they see the world, I could probably get along with them pretty well. Now, there's some people, quite frankly, I don't ever want to see the world the way they do, because the world they see is just ugly as sin or programming or something. And it's like, I don't think it is. I just can't agree with that. It's not that they're wrong. It's just I can't agree with them. It's their right to think the way they want to. I don't have anything against that, but I can't agree with them necessarily. Doesn't mean that they're wrong. They're right. They can do what they wish. I agree, but they can't tell me what I have to do either. So that's harmony. And I thought to myself, okay, well, why do I want to harmonize with somebody? And what's the purpose of doing that, really? Well, the purpose of doing that is so that I can communicate with them, really. Because if they're going to sing "Mary Had a Little Lamb," then don't I want to be able to sing the harmony to that? So I don't want it to necessarily sound like Beethoven's fourth or even his fifth. When Beethoven got to the fifth, he could barely stand up. I mean, it was an awful thing for him. But the harmonies were bitching. Anyway.
That's bad, John.
You're welcome. I'm a dad. I'm good. I'm good for dad jokes. Okay, it's just the way it is. Okay. All right. So anyway, look. Here's the thing I'm trying to get you to pay attention to answer the question. All right. Look. I looked at those things and I said, I bet there's more to it than that, because things tend to come in at least sevens and more than that kind of levels. And concepts are a lot more complicated than what I'm giving them credit for. But if I just looked at that as spiritual events or functions, should we say, that there's a function called being at one with yourself, and there's a function called being in harmony with others, and there's a function called doing things. I had to stop and say, okay, that makes the spirit really a practical piece of knowledge. And it's pretty damn pragmatic that from there. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry. I know you have a defense here. Go ahead. Let me hear your defense. That's good.
I don't think it's a defense, but let's see.
Yeah, right. Me either. Yeah.
Well, again, it's like when I'm, as you're telling this, what's striking me about it is that you're talking primarily about observing. You're saying, like, let me just see where I can see this.
That I'm telling you, you asked me why do I say that I have a good relationship with the spirit or the other? That's the reason, because to me it's a pragmatic, practical concept.
Yeah.
And so I want to keep a good. Why would I want to argue with something that functions? It has functions that benefit me as an inner community entity.
Okay, yeah, because you're saying, it helps you to be one, or it helps anybody to be one. It helps the relationships. It helps what they're doing, communicating with each other and stuff.
No, I'm not saying it helps. I'm saying without it, you don't have any of those things, that relationship, communicating with each other thing. Without those three things, for instance, what relationship are you talking? I don't want to be in harmony with you. I'll do what I damn well please with as many entities I want to, and talk to you. Fuck you. I'm not going to talk to you. Who the hell are you to talk for you to demand that I talk to you? Much less listen to you, you other sex person, you, if you're even a person.
So I'm not rising to the bait. All right.
Oh, come on.
I know you got the hook dangling. Yes. Okay, so here we have this practical other part, and
yep, we do.
So again, back to my initial conundrum, it's like, how do I take advantage or control? And those are different things. You can take advantage of these functions versus trying
different
to
things.
control.
Hell, they're not even anywhere related, kid.
Yeah.
Taking advantage is one thing. Controlling is something else. See,
I have an idea.
Let me explain it to you. Okay. Do you really want to drive the plane?
No, and not until I ever learned how to fly one. No.
Okay, but you'll take advantage of one, right?
Yeah. And I say it's kind of like it's like the weather too. It's like I can't control the weather, but I can sure take advantage about when I plant or when I go skiing or whatever.
Yeah, the sun goes, or the Earth goes around the sun every year. I mean, it takes a whole year to go around it. 365.25 days or something. 3.32 days. I depending on who's measuring.
And
which
calendar?
Really.
And yeah.
It's what day is it? I'm good with the day. Okay.
All right, but I think I interrupted you.
Okay, go ahead.
So go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead. You're asking something.
All right. So again, I was asking about taking advantage. I mean, I'm just trying to put together what you're saying. Is like none of that is about controlling. It's like, hey, I can see these things. I can see these functions.
No, it's not about. Wait. Can we take control out of this completely? Control has no business here whatsoever. There is no control. Listen to me, okay? There is no control involved.
Okay.
This is one of the hardest things for people to understand, I think, maybe, but it's true. There's no control involved with any of it. The spirit, the other, the soul, whatever, has no interest nor ability to control the body. It wants the body to take care of itself. Because if the body doesn't take care of itself, both the soul and the spirit die. Okay, and so the spirit is really very much in favor of the body being in control of the things the body's supposed to be in control of, like
So
the
it
environment.
lives.
You see, like eating well and eating sufficiently, drinking water, hydrating. We used to just say, well, I'm thirsty, but nowadays you got to be hydrated. So I never knew that.
Ah. See what you've been missing all these years?
Yeah, well, provincial kid, what can I tell you? You know, I just grew up in the sticks. I can't tell you. It's me. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make with you here, kid, is this: is that, you know, the spirit isn't a appendage or something like a pet, you know, that you have to be able to whistle for it to come and do your bidding. The spirit has, if you take all of that kind of thinking out of it and think about, okay, the spirit has no emotions. Let's start with that thought. It doesn't have a body. You're the one with the body. Okay, you're Terri, whoever that is. That there's a physical part that we call Terri. That's the body. The spirit is connected, but it doesn't have the body.
Yeah.
So
right,
it doesn't
emotions
have
are a body thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Emotions, by their very definition, move the body around. It gives us instructions of how to move. Okay, so the spirit doesn't have a body. Okay, so it doesn't have emotional sets. Okay. However, it can have functions. It can have a reason that it does things. It can have a reason to exist. It can have a reason to, let's say, channel energy through the body. If we could think about it from that perspective, as opposed from the perspective of, oh, my spirit is telling me to move to Nevada. You know, no, it isn't. I don't care. I don't care how nutso you want me to think you are. No, it's not. That's not happening.
Yeah.
Okay. The spirit has to have functions. And I think this is one of the problems with a lot of folks that are coming out of business owners and CEOs and so forth, coming out of the pandemic here. I think that they're looking for, because look, you can't lose 600,000 people out of a population without it affecting you. You know, there has to be an enormous effect of that loss within the society. I mean, people have to. I mean, you know, they don't have to. I mean, you can't escape from the idea that people feel terrible. You know, everybody knows somebody that was in the prime of their life that died. Okay, just they couldn't breathe anymore. They died. There's a lady came by here the other day that her with her partner, they both went to a restaurant together. 2 days later, they both were sick. 3 days later, they're both in the hospital. He never came out. She said that she got better and went and held his hand, and he wasn't there. He was on a ventilator, but he wasn't there. He was gone. 46 years old, and he's gone. Oh, come on. Yeah, that's a terrible thing, right? That's a terrible thing. Those kinds of scars are populating our entire country. Okay, the entire world is being populated with those kinds of scars, those kinds of hurts. And so, yeah, people are going to want to know about the functions of the other. Not this, I'm a spiritual shaman. No, you're not. You know, don't bullshit people like that. You're not. You'd like to be, maybe. You read some books, I think. You know, that doesn't make you a shaman, though. It doesn't make you anything. Nothing at all. You should live so long to be something. You know, these things are not for children. These things are for grown adult people. These are for people with responsibility. The other favors those who have obligations and favor and responsibility within themselves, I think, because it works best there. For people who are irresponsible, who still argue with mommy and daddy and all those other kinds of things, I don't see any way that the spirit can function through you, because you ain't even at one with yourself yet. Okay, and you got to start there. You got to be able to get that all together. You know, guess what? You're mommy and daddy's boy or girl. You started out as a baby, and you learned all kinds of things from them: how to walk, how to talk, how to eat, all that stuff you learned from them, and you still do it today. So enough, put it down. You're not arguing with them. You're not fighting with them. They treated you just as best that they could. And if you want to argue about that, well, shame on you. What a silly thing you are. Don't do that. Okay. If you're a CEO and if you're a owner of a business, then please understand that your people, they're fighting with these things still. They're unhappy. They can't work. They can't be comfortable because they don't know how to trust themselves. If they think they do, they can tell you, I want this thing, and they do consciously. But what they do is something different than that, because there's this function idea that comes about. It comes about for all of us. It comes about why are you a CEO? Why do you own the business? Well, duh, it's because the reality is that the reason why you own the business is because, quite frankly, you have a spiritual function that you're fulfilling. What is that? I don't know. Do you? Take a few minutes and find out. That's the reason why we do these classes, okay? Or why we do what these aren't classes. These are discussions. This is me screwing around with Terri.
But you also do classes where you start getting into this stuff with people,
we do. In fact, we're going to do one tomorrow night.
Cool. And what you doing?
That would be Thursday, and it would be the Dyads.
The Dyads class, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've been doing that on Thursday night. We're repeating it so people can take it when they get to it. So and somewhere or the other, probably on the site, either today or tomorrow, there'll be something that comes up that on this channel. So there'll be something come up so you can register for those things. Yeah. Well, Vincent is putting that all together.
Great.
He's an amazing person.
Well, I mean, I again just know from some of my own experiences that having the opportunity to really kind of ask oneself those questions and really look at it is, we don't often have those places, and it's really it's really useful to say, why am I doing either why am I doing what I feel like I need to do, and why am I doing it, and what's it about? It's sort of like those why am I here kind of things.
Well, you know where I find it most useful?
No, where?
Having a map to get through something where you're trying to do the best that you can do for that within that thing that's a pretty elusive map. It's pretty hard to come by. Okay, and so the playing field, which is part of what we're talking, which is the overall thing that we're talking about here, what I call the playing field, at least, is such a map. Okay, it isn't the map; it's just a map. It's like any other treasure map. Who knows? You can find something on it, good for you. If you can't find something on it, well, I don't blame you. It's kind of an abstract kind of idea, so you have to use your imagination to find it. But I've done my best to be able to explain some of these concepts so people can understand them and put them to work or put them to use in a pragmatic and practical fashion, as opposed to having all this. Well, I'm gonna call it la la, okay? Because I don't know what it is. La 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 la. It's not a real thing anywhere.
So I mean, again, where that resonates with me is when I've looked at the playing field. It's like when you have a situation, you're saying, how can I evaluate this? What I'd like on the playing field is it's something I can look at, like compared to what based on what am I looking at it? And often what I found myself, I would be looking at it based on how I feel, or what I should do, what somebody told me how it should be. And I've learned kind of over years of looking at this is my feelings and my shoulds are not as helpful or as reliable as mommy and daddy or I thought they were,
No way.
But I didn't know that. I thought,
Okay, I got it. I know. I got it. Well, don't we all think that, though? We have to, don't we? Yeah. That's not wrong. That's normal. Okay. The thing is that we have to stop every now and then and say, okay, even though I feel like this is normal, does that mean, okay, I always think about it like this. I know it's normal for us to be hurting animals. Okay, I got that. That's what normal is. We all go to work. We all get up in the morning. We all watch I Love Lucy. We all Saturday Night Live. Everybody likes certain things. We all fall in line. Well, there's a division between Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert, but people like Colbert more because of his frickin' ears.
Yeah, you can have more than one herd. You can have more than one herd. But
see, there you go.
herds.
The selva is populated with many herds. Yes, yeah. That's wisdom from the selva this afternoon. Okay. Here's the idea though. We're not herding animals. I don't care how many times you get up there and do the boogie, you are not a herding animal. Really, line dancing, I know it's fun. I got it. No argument whatsoever. I wish I could do it. Maybe it's just line dance envy on my part. But that could be easy enough for people. But the point I'm trying to make is this: is that I had to stop and say, okay, am I going along because everybody's doing this? Do I really understand why anybody's doing this, like me? Mm-hmm. Do I understand why I'm thinking this way? Do I understand what my reaction here really comes from?
Right.
Why would I be reacting this way? I mean, who knows why I would react in this fashion? Because it doesn't make good sense to do it like that. See, it just doesn't. It makes more sense for me to say, okay, let me react to this right now, not the one in the past, or not the one that everybody else says I'm having. I think that's a spiritual idea, and I think that has to do with what you do specifically. And I think that what we have to, when we think, I think we have to use our natural mind functions, which includes, the functions from the other, or the spirit, or the soul, or whatever. However you want to visualize those is fine with me. I mean, I'm not trying to tell you how to do it or anything. I'm just trying to say, look, stop and think for a second. Maybe this is a practical idea that you need to apply.
Okay, so I want to bring us back around to where we started, because
okay.
where you started early on was this whole idea of we only live in now. And as I'm listening to you talk about many of these tools and functions, it's like, one of the practical advantage of each of these things you've identified is it brings me closer to actually dealing with here and now, rather than something I brought from the past, or worried for the future, or imagining that I could be, but isn't have any basis in reality. Because each of those things, whether it's programming or getting along with with how people really are, not how I want them to be, how they actually are, really communicating. So I'm getting an ongoing data flow between me and the people around. That's all dealing with now,
Yep.
So that's pretty dang practical.
Yes, because this is the only time that we can deal with things, right?
Yeah.
So I think you're right, Terry. I think that if something can be applied now, in this now, then it's a pretty practical solution to a problem if the problem exists now. Mm-hmm. And so the idea here is that, well, when we communicate about things, we should communicate about things that people can use in this right now, to use a really Mexican phrase.
Yeah.
Okay. But that's true. It is right now. It isn't another time.
Well, and the added thing.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
And the added advantage is, and I keep on bringing this home because, this is not something that's coming, is that being in the now, because you already are there and interacting with it is advantageous, because you're dealing with something that's real, as opposed,
as opposed to a fantasy. And so what a fantasy is going to be is, what reality is fantasy a safer bet than dealing with the now of reality? That seems to me to be a no-brainer. I'm flying an airplane, and that I'm really Walter Mitty, and I can go where I want to and do what I want to do. No, I got to pay attention for the whole damn 9-hour flight. The whole thing, I got to be right there paying attention. I don't want this plane going anywhere other than where I want it to go. Same thing riding a motorcycle, right? You don't. don't be looking off over there some other place. You look, you're going to fall over. You're going to run into something. Don't do that. There'll be a little stone about that big right in the middle of the road. You're going to hit it, and you're going to upset. Be careful.
Yep.
Oh, so, my goodness. Did a doggy run out in front of you? Oh, what happened to you? You look really bad with all this asphalt on your face. Pay attention right now. See, that's
right. And now you see why I never got a motorcycle. I knew it was going to be a bad idea.
See, are you telling me you can't pay attention to right now? Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying I have been challenged at different times, yes. Yeah, and at least I was smart enough to deal enough of the right now to realize it.
Oh, we're going to call this intelligence. Oh, okay. All right. I'm good with that one. You bet.
Okay.
All right.
All righty. So I guess that kind of wraps it up for now. And
all right, Terri.
And I'll see you the next time.
Oh, okay. I look forward to it.
All right. Me too. All right. Bye now.
Okay. Adios, T.
Yeah.